For some people, the effects of GLP-1 drugs don't stop at weight loss, appetite, or blood sugar. In a lot of cases, they start to show up in everyday life, how people spend their time, how they socialize, how they connect with a partner, even how their relationships function long term. And that matters because the strongest evidence here isn't pointing to something surface level. It's pointing to a deeper shift in how people live day to day, how they interact with others, and how relationships react when one person changes faster than everything around them. What's changing isn't just how many people are taking these drugs, it's the range of effects that are now being tracked. Medications like Wegovy and Zepbound are widely used for weight loss and metabolic issues. As more people use them, researchers and clinicians have started to notice patterns that go beyond physical health. This isn't just about losing weight anymore. It's also about confidence, social behavior, dating, sex, and everyday routines that couples often rely on. This shift isn't coming from one company decision or a single new study. It's coming from two things happening at once: a rapid increase in usage and older weight loss research being looked at again in new light. By April 2026, reports started raising concerns about a possible increase in divorce risk tied to GLP-1 related weight loss, pulling from earlier findings connected to bariatric surgery. That comparison needs to be handled carefully. There isn't a large long term study showing GLP-1 drugs directly lead to higher divorce rates. The strongest evidence comes from bariatric surgery patients where major weight loss has already been linked to changes in relationships. One Swedish study, following about 12,500 patients, found about a 14% divorce rate over 6 years compared to an 8% baseline. Some reports describe that as roughly double the risk. Another figure mentioned a 41% higher likelihood of divorce after surgery. Those numbers are real for surgery patients, but they haven't been directly proven for people using GLP-1 drugs. Researchers tend to point to the same underlying reason for those outcomes. It's not the treatment itself, it's what happens after the weight loss. According to experts referenced in recent reporting, people often experience shifts in identity, confidence, independence, and social behavior in real terms that can look like one person eating differently, drinking less, going out more, or engaging with people in new ways, while the relationship continues to run on old habits. That disconnect can lead to tension and imbalance. Survey data suggests that these kinds of changes are already happening with GLP-1 users. A Kinsey Institute survey of 2,000 US adults found that 59% said their dating or relationships were affected. The same survey showed that 52% noticed changes in their sex life, whether those changes were positive or negative. This doesn't prove divorce is happening more often, but it does show that personal relationships are being impacted in a measurable way. That same survey also picked up shifts in social and romantic behavior. It found a 14% increase in dating activity, a 16% increase in confidence when starting relationships, and 16% of people saying that they were contacted by former partners. That suggested the impact isn't just internal, it's also external. People are being seen differently, interacting differently, and in some cases, attracting new or renewed attention. Inside a relationship, that can shift the balance. When it comes to sexual relationships, the changes aren't consistent. The survey showed that 18% of users reported increased libido, while 16% reported a decrease. So there's no single outcome here. For some people, things may improve. For others, it may create distance or mismatch. What stays consistent is that something changes. It just doesn't always change in the same direction. Daily routines are shifting too. Reporting on GLP-1 users has shown that reduced food intake and changes in shared habits, especially around meals and social activities tied to eating, experts say that matters because a lot of relationships are built around shared routines. When those routines change, the impact shows up immediately. It affects how people spend time together, how they connect, and how their day to day life is structured. Looking at all the evidence together, the pattern stays pretty consistent. Major weight loss leads to changes in behavior and routine. Those changes influence how people interact and how they see themselves. And that shift can affect the relationship, especially when both partners aren't changing at the same pace. It's not that a medication directly ends a relationship. It's that a major personal shift can put added pressure on something that already exists. Some experts have said they're starting to see similar patterns of relationship strain among GLP-1 users. But it's important to be clear. Those observations come from clinical experience and earlier research, not from large scale studies focused specifically on GLP-1 use. The idea of a divorce boom is still more of a warning based comparison than something that's been confirmed. Cost could also play a role, though this part of the story is less solid. Some reports note that GLP-1 treatments can cost more than $10,000 per year, and early legal discussions suggest that this kind of spending could show up in divorce cases. But this is still developing and hasn't been widely proven. What does stand out is the overall pattern. This isn't just a medical story, it's about broader changes in behavior, identity, and social interaction. And those changes can reach into relationships affecting balance, routine, and expectations over time. Right now, the most accurate takeaway is a measured one. GLP-1 drugs are linked to real, measurable changes in dating, sexual behavior, and relationship dynamics. Past research shows that major weight loss can be followed by higher rates of relationship disruption. But there's still no direct proof that GLP-1 use is increasing divorce rates across the population. This is still unfolding. The changes are already visible in how people behave and interact, but the long term effects on relationships are still being studied. For now, the data shows that these drugs can influence more than just health. They can shape daily life and, in some cases, the stability of relationships. If you want to keep up with how this continues to evolve, you can subscribe to Dose and Demand. As this plays out in real time, one question still stands. When a person's lifestyle shifts this quickly, what actually determines whether a relationship adjusts or just falls apart? See you next time.